This can be called a complete breakdown or failure of negotiations. Iran has resumed massive attacks on the allies of the United States of America in the Middle East. Iran carried out a missile and drone strike on Kuwait International Airport, resulting in casualties and injuries, and the airport itself sustained significant damage. In addition, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran struck American military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. The targets of the attack were the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet and Air Base and a helicopter unit. In addition, the Iranians openly attacked an American oil tanker as well. Against this backdrop, U.S. President Donald Trump is demanding that Iran put in writing the concessions the country is willing to make regarding its nuclear program. Moreover, this demand arose as part of a preliminary agreement that both sides have been trying to reach for almost 2 months. Almost 2 months. But unexpectedly for many, Donald Trump publicly confirmed today that he did indeed call the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, a damn lunatic. And right away, Donald Trump started praising the Iranian leader. According to Trump, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei remains one of the most influential figures in Iran, and he personally would like to meet him. Trump even stated that such a meeting would be an honor for him. That's quite a twist, so let's figure it out. My name is Alexei Pechi, let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under this video. I would really appreciate it. And subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, before we move on to the topic of renewed Iranian attacks on US military bases in the region, let's first discuss one very important point. Yesterday, a video was released on this YouTube channel in which I said that US President Donald Trump launched a strong criticism against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over Israel's escalation of tensions in Lebanon. During the conversation, Donald Trump called Netanyahu crazy and accused him of being ungrateful. In addition, the publication Axios even quoted Donald Trump yesterday, addressing Netanyahu. Literally, "You're damn crazy. You would be in jail if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Now everyone hates you. Everyone hates Israel because of this. What the hell are you even doing?" After yesterday's episode, a lot of very educated people appeared in the comments and started writing a lot, saying, "Alexei Pechi, where do you get this information from? This is all lies. You're an anti-Semite. You're slandering Netanyahu. Donald Trump would never say anything like that in his life," and so on and so on. But under this episode, I'm sure all those same commentators will stay silent. And here's why. The thing is, today, the very next day after my episode yesterday, Donald Trump himself has already confirmed that during a tense phone conversation, he sharply criticized Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding the situation in Lebanon. Host Miranda Devine asked Donald Trump in an interview for a New York Post podcast whether he had called Netanyahu a damn lunatic and said that he would be in jail if it weren't for Trump. To which Donald Trump responded, and I will quote him further, and moreover I even have a video. I will show where he says this. And so Trump replies, "Yes, I said that." Then he added, and I quote, "I wouldn't say that I was angry. I was a little concerned about his constant conflicts with Lebanon, you know? At some point I told him, Bibi, we have to stop this. We have to put an end to it."
Which means you were angry with him and you said, "Are you effing crazy? What are you effing doing? I helped you stay out of jail." Is that true? Did you speak to him at those times? I did.
I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at I constantly fighting with Lebanon. At some point I told Bibi, we have to stop this. We got to stop this. We got to stop it.
Netanyahu himself today dodged the question about whether Trump really scolded him, but hinted that yes, arguments between them do happen, but he did confirm something. Here is his quote. "Sometimes, just like in the best families, we have tactical disagreements, but we always find a way to resolve them, and we do it as great friends. We might disagree in the morning, but by evening we're already acting together. He respects me, and I respect him. We always find a way to settle our disagreements."
The president confirmed that he said you were fucking out of your mind. How did you react to that? What really happened during that call?
We have common goals. Sometimes, just like in the best of families, you have these tactical disagreements. We always find a way to work them out, and we do so as great friends. We can disagree in the morning, and by the afternoon we have common action.
But what's interesting is that when asked whether Donald Trump told him that without his help he would have ended up in jail, Netanyahu didn't deny it. He said, well, yes, that happened. Netanyahu thanked Trump for his support regarding the corruption charges, which he called false and ridiculous. Now I'm waiting for those same commentators who said I was lying and making things up, claiming Trump never said that. Go ahead and write, admit you were wrong. This clearly confirms what I said yesterday. And remember, this moment when Donald Trump criticized Netanyahu, we'll definitely come back to it later. Now let's discuss the escalation in the Middle East. Hostilities in the Persian Gulf flared up again on Wednesday. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran struck American military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. The targets of the attack were the headquarters of the U.S. 5th Fleet and Air Base and a helicopter unit. In addition, a strike was carried out against America, the American oil tanker Panaya. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran noted that this was in response to the shelling of a communications tower in the south of Qeshm Island. In turn, the United States Central Command stated that all of Iran's attacks had failed. Here is the quote. 2 Iranian missiles launched at Kuwait fell short of their target or broke up in the air. 3 missiles fired at Bahrain were quickly intercepted by air defense forces. I should note here that the US and Iran began exchanging strikes amid stalled peace talks. At the same time, a ceasefire is in effect between the countries, which US President Donald Trump announced back in early April and later extended indefinitely. The US and Iran are discussing a peace agreement that should include Tehran's renunciation of uranium enrichment and the opening of the Hormuz Strait. And now, according to Axios, since May 31, Trump has demanded that the document include specific details regarding uranium. At the same time, on June 1, the Iranian agency Tasnim reported that Iran is suspending negotiations with the US, allegedly due to Israeli strikes on Lebanon. However, after that, Trump clarified that no, the negotiations are continuing and are progressing rapidly. We've heard this nonsense from Donald Trump 100 times already about supposedly reaching an agreement. Later, Iran decided to carry out today a show of force attack on Kuwait. I would even say a demonstrative one. Iran carried out a missile and drone strike on Kuwait's international airport. According to Kuwait's aviation authorities, the attack caused significant damage to the terminal building and damaged critical infrastructure and diplomatic missions. After the strike, the authorities temporarily suspended the operation of the airport as a whole. One of the terminals is still closed because it suffered major damage. And here I want to remind you why I say this is a demonstrative strike. The airport had only recently returned to full operation after dealing with the aftermath of previous attacks. 2 days before the new strike, the authorities in Kuwait reported the completion of repair work and the resumption of operations at the first terminal, which was attacked again today and suffered the most damage once more. And against this backdrop, US President Donald Trump is demanding that Iran put in writing the concessions the country is willing to make regarding its nuclear program. Moreover, the demand arose within the framework of a preliminary agreement, the very memorandum of understanding that both sides are trying to conclude. Earlier, Iranian negotiators gave verbal assurances that the regime would eventually agree to certain conditions regarding its nuclear program. It's also important to note that detailed discussions of the nuclear deal were supposed to take place after the framework agreement, that is, during the period when the parties would be negotiating the final agreement. However, the US president, at a meeting in the Situation Room on Friday, concluded that Iran's verbal commitments were not strong enough, and therefore demanded that specific concessions be outlined as part of the preliminary deal. And this demand essentially revealed, the true nature of the Iranians. They immediately stated that they no longer wanted any negotiations. But then Trump himself started behaving strangely, because on one hand he criticizes Netanyahu, and on the other hand he praises the leader of Iran. Donald Trump unexpectedly stated that Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei remains one of the most influential figures in Iran. US President Donald Trump made a statement that may indicate a new approach by Washington toward Tehran. According to him, the Ayatollah enjoys significant respect in the country after the death of his father, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, and other family members as a result of Israeli airstrikes at the beginning of the war. But the most striking thing is that Trump said he would like to meet with Mojtaba Khamenei. Quote, "I would like to meet with him. I would be happy to meet with all of them, but I would like to meet with him first. And probably we will meet at some point depending on how things turn out." Well, against the backdrop of new attacks and Trump's persistent refusal to admit that the ceasefire has long since been broken, Washington's behavior doesn't look like the behavior of a winner so far. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel. You can do this financially by donating through the links and details in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.